Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good to see all of you guys on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Billy was on early at 11:15 and was asking, when is the coaching and mentoring course going to open up? So right now we are enrolling for our Wealth Transfer Academy. This is for people who want to run a small business, specifically leveraging online technology tools, which if you're a coach, speaker, minister, creative thinker, I would encourage you to take. So our coaching and mentoring certification program is to help you learn how to coach other people and how to develop other people. The course we're working on right now is to teach you the back end of how to actually have a coaching program, or how to run your store online, or how to write a book and have people that actually buy it, the marketing, the launching of a product. So this morning we're going to do something really fun. I normally don't do these type of strategy sessions because I charge about $500 an hour for one, especially when it comes to business and leadership. However, in our 21-day fast, some of you guys participated. We found out that there's a lot of business owners. And so the other day, I just decided to ask them, like, what are some of your challenges that you're facing in business and ministry? And so what I want to do is kind of work through some of those challenges with them. Then I want to take your questions around areas of strategy for launching, building, and marketing if you're working on anything. In this hour, I believe that not everybody's an entrepreneur, right? But I believe that you should have something on the side besides just your job. I was reading statistics this week, and in 2020, which was the pandemic year, had the most millionaires born than in any other year before, meaning over 1 million people. It was actually 5 million have become millionaires over the last 2 years. What that tells me is that there is a whole world out there for your expertise, for your information, for your skill set, and we just need to grab it. And I think a lot of people don't have the tools to be able to take what they already know, their education, their experience, and monetize it. But a lot of people are out there already doing it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be working through some strategy, coaching, and developing for ministers, thinkers, creatives, and then I will take your questions. So, like I said, this all started in our fast group that we have on Facebook. I wanted to check on the business owners and see how they were doing and how they were managing. And they had some questions, so we're gonna go through them, and I hope it can help you, no matter where you're at, whether you don't have a business or you don't have a ministry, but you want to grow and you just want to get clarity and information around how things work, and how they can run better. This is what it's going to be all about today. All right. So the first person said, one of my many challenges was deciding when and if I need a mentor. You want someone not only knowledgeable, but really understands your desires for growing your business. So let's start with this. And this is one of the things that we teach in our mentoring and coaching course, which doesn't open until February. But there's a difference between a mentor and there's a difference between a coach. A mentor is someone who has knowledge or information that you need, that is willing to pour out that knowledge or that information to you for free. Mentoring generally, and the crux of it is not something that someone pays hundreds and hundreds of dollars for. Mentoring is, I have gained this experience and this knowledge, and when I have time, I'll pour it into you, right? So coaching on the other end is saying, I have these tools and these expertise, and you have an area in which you need to be sharpened or you need to be developed. And therefore, you're going to invest something in order for me to sharpen and develop you. So a coach, it has to be very measurable. And this is stuff we teach in our coaching certification, but you got to be able to measure if a person was able to go from point A to point B to point C, right? You got to know the right questions, the right assessments. Whereas mentoring, it's like we meet over coffee and we talk about your life. Generally, that's the crux of mentoring, right? Now, you could do mentoring and coaching in the same instance. So, for example, we have a coaching program where we help people identify their purpose and their destiny, heal from their past. But on Wednesdays, I help mentor them because they ask questions. I pour back into them. They get to know me. I get to know them. So when you are trying to build a business and you're trying to decide, do I need a mentor or a coach? That's the first thing you need to decide. A coach, you can demand results from a coach. You should be able to go in there and say, in 6 months, I want to lose 30 pounds. And if they say, hey, I have the strategy to help you do that, great. But if you found somebody who lost weight and you want to learn from them, there is no real demand from them as a mentor. So there's a difference there. So if you're in business and you're saying, when do I get a coach? In business, you definitely should look for a coach when you want to scale your business, when you want to grow it in any kind of way, when there's a challenge where you want to pivot. We've hired coaches and paid them thousands of dollars for when we want to go in a different area in marketing, when we want to better understand an audience. That's when you pay for a coach, when you want to either shift or you feel stuck in your ministry or your business, and their job is to get you unstuck, to get you to the next place. Now, you could have business mentors, but when you have a business mentor, once again, it's very fluid and it's very lucid. They're not necessarily going to be there to pick up the phone every time you call, because you're not paying them for their time for you to see strategy. So that's the first thing that I want you guys to think about when you're thinking about a business coach. And you can get a business coach at the beginning. And this is my business training philosophy. I would rather invest what's sensible at the beginning than just spending thousands and thousands of dollars to get information and I have not implemented any. So I've seen people pay thousands of dollars for several courses and they're still not doing anything. That's not how I coach people. That's not how I develop people when it comes to business. And so you want to think about, what resources do I have? And if the resources are there for you to pay someone to help you go to the next level, scale your business, learn how to market it, learn how to launch it, I would encourage you to do that. All right. The next question that was asked, and for those who guys are just joining us, we're in a strategy session today around business, around ministry, around creating, building, launching what God has called us to build. This one says they have a hard time with when to launch and have the time to get when I need to be better at it. So launching something is so critical. Mastering the time when to launch it is so critical, right? And this is one of the reasons why I started the Wealth Transfer Academy, because I saw a bunch of people who would get an idea and they'll get this idea from the Lord. And then they're like, okay, it's time to launch, right? And all of a sudden they're like, I'm selling cookies, or I'm selling t-shirts, or I'm now a coach, right? Or whatever it is. And they did not do any of the following things, and I'll make a list and post it. But you want to do market research, right? You want to find out, like, okay, where will I fall in the category with my product? Is it business consultation? Am I coming from corporate and am I now wanting to mentor other younger business leaders, right? What is the going rate? What do you need to have running before you have this? What is the things that are needed to sustain this business? So what I would say, before you just get an idea and launch, I would make sure that you take at least 2-3 months of really strategic planning. Some people write out business plans during that time. Some of them write out a launch plan during that time. But for example, a rocket, NASA doesn't just say, okay, we're sending another rocket to the moon. They spend a year or so preparing for that launch. And when I coach my business folks, ministry folks, launches are huge. They should be spectacular. There should be countdowns. There are ways you could do virtual launches. There's ways you could do on-site launches. This is if you've written a book. This is if you've developed a program of some sort. Launches are really important, and you should plan for that launch. Does the launch have to be perfect? No, because one of the things that I see that delays people as well is that they feel like everything has to be perfect, everything has to be well written out, and that's not necessary either. But you at least need to have a clear plan of what that launch is going to look like. All right. So I have some questions that I'm working through already. And then in a little bit, I'm going to take some questions from you guys. So this one says they want to find the right balance between offering services with limited visibility, so like an exclusive product, to enough clients so that you're profitable, but not overwhelmed with the potential to expand your services to larger audiences. So this is the thing. If you're going to have a high premium product, right? Meaning $500, $1,000, $15,000, Louis Vuitton prices for your, shoes or your t-shirts. You will have to be very clear about your audience and you will need to find them. When I say audience, that could be your market, that could be your people that are interested in you, but it doesn't have to be a lot because you're charging a lot for your product. So you can start, and this is a little bit different from how I coach and I develop people. I develop people in the sense that I want you to see what the market is charging, and I want you to start there. And then as demand increases for what you have to offer, then you can begin to raise your prices and offer more exclusive prices, right? Because if I'm just starting out and I need to make at least $5,000 a month, but I have 15 followers, you could say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make products that are $100, and all I need is to find 10 people who will buy those, right? And that will be $5,000. And so you would zone in on that, but you need to prepare your numbers. And this is one thing that I tell people all the time, especially when we do our Wealth Transfer Academy also has a VIP option where you get to do 1 hour coaching with me. It may already be full. Actually, I only had 10 spots for VIP coaching. But one of the things that I work with people there is, what is your amount that you want to make every single month? You can't say, well, I'm starting a business and you don't know what you're supposed to be bringing in. What you're supposed to be bringing in should help you set your goals for how much marketing you're going to do, for who you're going to connect with, for the opportunities that you're going to take, because you have a goal in mind. The problem is a lot of people start and they don't have a goal in mind. So if you're just starting and you feel like, yeah, my audience knows me, I have a really good product, then you could start with the premier exclusive products and just know how many of purchases or whatever it is that you're going to need to get in order for you to meet your goal. Now, you could just be a premier exclusive vendor of whatever socks, right? $60 socks. And that's fine if you continue to grow that audience that sees value in that. But if you're just starting out and you're like, nobody knows who I am, nobody knows I'm really good at this, you have to develop trust and you have to develop credibility in your product. And so you will need to start in a place that is fair in the market. And the more people love your product, the more word gets around, the faster you can raise your prices to ultimately what you thought they were. So when I think about exclusivity or premier products, the issue that I've seen is a lot of people are like, well, she's charging $500 an hour for business coaching, and so I should. Maybe you should, right? But do you have the experience? Do you have the education? And do you have the clientele? Because what's going to happen, I was talking to someone a couple months ago, they're super frustrated because they were charging $3 something for coaching. I'm like, girl, really? That's insane, because there's no credibility out there. Nobody has an idea. Now, that doesn't mean you cannot jump from the bat and charge that much, but you just have to know that you're going to have to put in a lot of work in order for people to trust you so that they can invest that much into whatever you are selling. All right. Someone said their challenges are putting systems in place, execution, and consistency. I can't even answer this just right now, but this is one of the things that we do in Wealth Transfer Academy. We talk about the systems that need to be in place for you to succeed in your business. But systems can start with as simple as when people go to your website and they fill out the contact form, where does it go? And who answers it? What happens after that, right? If you are a coach, right, how do you get them scheduled? Do you have the calendar already on your website? How do you make sure that every weekend every week that's blocked out so that they can go in and make sure that when they schedule, they're not double booking with someone else? If you are in fashion and you have an online boutique, right? Systems are, when do we order the inventory? How do we know how much inventory we're supposed to bring in? Those are things that you learn through market research by obviously bringing in a coach, watching people that have done it before, asking the right questions. Those are things that you don't need to have all your systems right away, but you need to have your systems to get started. It's like dominoes. This happens and this happens and this happens. One of the systems that's really important is your refund policy, right? How do we deal with refunds? Have we clearly communicated that on the website? All of that stuff needs to be thought of before you start. And consistency is not something someone can give you. The most successful people in business, those of us who have been able to create like 7-figure businesses, all I can tell you is how I've done it and how my peers have done it. And one of the biggest keys is consistency. Like, you can't say, oh, well, I'm just going to start this. And then 4 weeks later, you're like, nah, man, I'm tired. I'm going to focus on this else. You're not going to succeed, whether it's ministry or business, if you're not consistent in the same direction over a period of time. So you got to deal with double-mindedness. You got to deal with fear. You got to deal with unworthiness. All these things impact whether or not we're supposed to keep going forward in something that we have started. All right, I'll do 3 more from the group, and then I'll take your questions and your comments. Someone said deciding when to work on certain goals, how to organize and strategize plans for the business. It's the same thing, right? So this is what I would say to ministry folks, business folks. You want to do 3-month goals, then you want to do 6 months goals, and you want to do year-long goals. These are really important because they are measurable. And when a goal is measurable, and we teach this to our life coaches and mentees, how to help people set goals, right? They call them SMART goals, right? You want to make sure that it's something that you can achieve. You want to make sure that it's something that you can measure. And so in 3 months, if I'm just launching a business, I may say that because I want to leverage online social media, if I have 10 followers, my 3-month goal might be to grow it to 100 followers. Okay, so well, how am I going to do that? Well, this is the lead magnet I'm going to create. This is how often I'm going to share about my product. And you create a strategy to hit that 3-month goal. Once you've hit that goal, then the next strategy could be like, okay, we want to start bringing in $7,000 a month by the end of 6 months. All right, how are we going to do that? These are the people that have really showed interest in whatever product I'm getting ready to release or my book, right? This is how I'm going to launch it. This is the goal. I'm not going to go to sleep until I've hit this goal. So you want to make sure that your goals are broken down very small when you're first starting out, or if you've been in business or ministry for a really long time, but it's not going where you need it to go. It might be that you have this big vision, and people say this stuff to me all the time, like, I have this big vision. God's going to use me to do. I'm like, yeah, but what's in your hands right now? What are you supposed to be doing right now? You don't build a mega ministry. You don't build a 7-figure, 8-figure business by just tackling these big, big goals. You build them every single day, right? By working towards whether it's monthly, 3-month, 6 months, or yearly goals. All right. This one asked about how do they grow their tribe, right? And this is a term that I use. I believe she took one of my certification courses, and she's wanting to know, how do I position myself as an expert? How do I grow my audience? We go through this thoroughly in Wealth Transfer Academy. How do you identify your audience? How do you grow your audience? But the first thing is the last thing that I said, which is you don't quit, right? And so you need to figure out where your audience is. If you're a painter, you don't need to be going live every single day, even though you could go live and show them your process on how you make your paintings and all of that. But essentially, we're leading them to Etsy because that's probably a really good place if you're an artist to be selling your products. So you need to figure out, what does your people want? We call this a pain point. And I go in detail in all of this, your unique proposition value, your pain points in the Wealth Transfer Academy. When you figure that out, which is the problem that the people that you're called to have, then you solve those problems for them. The more you give value to people, the more that they will trust you, and then they will send their friends to you. So even as an artist, right, you're not solving the world's biggest problems, but when I order something from you on Etsy, it comes nicely packaged. It's a great product. I am more likely to tell other people that, hey, when you go through them, it's going to be painless, right? It's going to be easy. Hey, when I had to return something, it wasn't as difficult. These are things that you want to think about, especially when you have like non-service products. If you sell, chocolate balls or, t-shirts or whatever it is. And I use these simple little things because I really believe this wealth transfer is not just about the people who invested in crypto 10 years ago, and that's how God is going to transfer wealth to them. I really believe that this wealth transfer is about God giving you ideas and you learning how to create them, market them, launch them, and produce them. And a lot of that stuff you can do while you do your other job, which there's a question about that. So you want to be consistent. You always want to provide value. You always want to solve problems. If you can do that, whether it's you are now selling, I don't know, baby socks that can also turn into gloves, right? Because winter is coming and parents can't find socks and sometimes they can't find gloves. Then you're going to want to position yourself where they parents are. So there are Facebook groups with parents. There's a lot of SEO stuff, and we talk a lot about this in Wealth Transfer Academy, where when you create your website, the words that you use help push you in search engines so that people can find you. All right. Discerning the right season, right? Several people said this, discerning the right season. They completed my certification course, but they started building a website and using social media. But they have too many things going on. And that's the truth. Like if you're going to build a ministry, a business, I would say no more than 3 things on your plate, right? And those 3 things could be your job and your husband and children, right? And then your business. If you have 5 or 6 different things going on and you're trying to start a ministry or a business on the side, it's literally going to be that. It's just going to be on the side, right? When I started our business, it was sink or swim because the Lord kept saying, I have called you to work for me. And I've not called you to work for anybody else. I need you to be able to travel. I wanted to be able to raise my own children at home without having to send them to daycare. This was me, right? There's nothing wrong with that because my little baby, by the time they were 18 months, I was like, y'all, you're ready to go. But I got to have those early months. So I was like, I have to swim. There's no opportunity for failure. A lot of times we fail because we have opportunity for failure. And what do I mean by that? Some of us have too many cushions. We have this going on over here. We have this over here. And so if there's no fear of not succeeding, you are probably going to take it really easy and just do it when you want to do it. So when it comes to really business, there is going to come a time, and even ministry for some, where the Lord tells you to launch into it fully. Now, for me, he was calling me to launch into it fully with business at the same time. One of the things that we did when it was time to plant our church, we didn't want to have to take a salary from our church. And we are so grateful that we never have had to do that because we really wanted just to focus on building people and not worrying, just not taxing people on that. And so what did that mean? We needed to have a plan. Now, my husband was working in IT during that time. The Lord gave him this amazing job. So he was fine and we were going to be fine. My business was growing, but it got to the point where the church was growing so much that he needed to pay more attention to the church. He couldn't work IT. He could, and then do the business. And then he wasn't doing the business then pastor the church. So when we had to take the leap from him stopping his IT job into the church full time, right? We knew we weren't going to take a salary from the church. It meant that our company would need to have to sustain him. So when you're making decisions about the right seasons, you have to decide what's most important to you. If you got children and a husband or children and a wife, you can't just take leaps and then be like, I'm good to go, right? You have to say, okay, let's work out a plan of when we will be able to be sustained. If it means for 3 months while I get this business going, right? We'll be okay. So you got to strategize not only with the Lord. If you're single, it's primarily with the Lord and with your finances and the things that you're doing. But if you're in a family, you got to strategize with your spouse. All right. Last one, building my pipeline, social media consistency, and building a mailing list. So once again, I cannot give you consistency. Consistency is a decision and it's about discipline. It's about how much do you want it. When you hear the word pipeline, you may also hear the word funnel. This is how you get people that don't know who you are and introduce them to what you have and what you carry, and then you're able to service them. The person who asked is my good friend, and he is an amazing vocal coach. He has this vocal coaching program and course that he has created, right? And he already has a small pipeline, meaning he offers a free webinar. People see how amazing he is, and then they say, well, can we now buy the course? But that's, some people may not have an hour to sit down and watch a webinar. And so one of the things that we teach in Wealth Transfer Academy is how to create what we call your lead magnets. These are ways that people get to find out who you are. When you're in the mall and you're in the food court and the little lady says, try a sample, right? They're trying to tell you that if you just have a little sample, you're going to love this product, and you're most likely going to change your mind from going to Chick-fil-A and go get some Chinese food or some, Mexican food or some Italian food instead, right? And so this is really important when you are first starting out, that you have different types of samples, right? And this is how I train, and this is how I develop business people. And so I was telling him his sample might be a little too big. He needs to probably just come up with a simple one that says, like, 10 ways to improve your vocal health, right? And so, whoa, you just give that away? You don't just give that away, because one, he went to school for this stuff. Two, he's been training people for years. So what you do is you exchange these tips for an email. This is usually part of your starting of your pipeline. Any business you go to now has an email list. If you go to Shein, if you go into, I don't know, Nike, wherever you go, they're going to give you 15% for your email. They're going to give you a 10% coupon for your email, because this is what we call online marketing. I don't care if you have had a brick and mortar business and your papa had it and your grandmother had it. If you don't master online marketing in this generation, your business is not going to do well. And as I said, you can go to any website that you have gone to, unless it's like a governmental website or something like that, but that sells anything, you got to have a pipeline. So you should have one. And we call them subscription boxes or all this. I teach all of this stuff in detail, the kind of resources you can use, how you set it up in our Wealth Transfer Academy. I don't teach this stuff in our coaching and mentoring certification, which I know people are waiting for. That one, I just teach you how to coach and mentor people, and how to briefly launch. But the business course is how we go deep into this. So your pipeline, you could have several things. So for him, he could have that 10 tips for your vocal health. Just drop your email here, and there's ways to attach it on the back end where it gets shot straight to their email. Those are things that will help you work through in the classroom. That is one thing. And then once a month, he could do the big webinar. Now, if he's created this webinar, he can't just be like, well, it's out there. He, on a consistent basis, has to be sharing on his social media, on his email list, things leading up to that webinar, so that people are like, oh, this is what's going on. Or I've seen what, I almost mentioned his name, but I'm trying to give people and what, their privacy, even though this is not a bad thing. But he's sharing every week. I see him teaching us how to do this. Every week I see them sharing their latest design. Every week I see them showcasing their graphics. Every week I see them teaching on life skills. Every week I see them going live on, how to have a better marriage. People need to be able to see the consistency in whatever product that you have, in order for you to once again gain trust, and another again to gain credibility. Even right now, I'm gaining credibility, right? Maybe if I can't say the word, I may not be. If some of you guys, you've heard me teach on the prophetic, teach on the things of the spirit, spiritual gifts, but you haven't really heard me teach on business, right? So the more you hear me teach on business, and the more it sounds like I actually know what I'm talking about, you're like, maybe I should take this course. Maybe this is the answer to my problem. But if I don't show you that I am credible and just be like, well, I've told them I make, 7 figures or whatever, they should know, I haven't developed a relationship with you. So one of the areas that I see that falls short in business and in ministry is that people, you don't share what you carry. And when going back to ministry, this is one thing that the Lord clearly taught me early on, is that Faith, you don't need to wait for anyone to give you an opportunity. I have given you a voice. You just need to learn how to create a platform. And a platform is essentially a stage where you can trumpet the good news. So what I did early on, and one of my daughters, I pick on her now, she'd make fun of me like, oh, Dr. Faith is always on Facebook. Well, now she's like, so how did you do it again? Right. But I was sharing what God was showing me. I was teaching. I was providing value on a consistent basis. And then people be like, oh, she actually has some sense. And then maybe they may listen to me on YouTube and be like, we want to invite her to speak. And then when I go to speak, I give them what I gave you on YouTube. I don't go there and all of a sudden I'm not prepared. I go there and I don't bring it, especially when you first start out as a speaker and a teacher. You better be prepared, right? You better, pray in the Holy Spirit, but also prepare with excellence so that the people there say, man, she's amazing. Let's have her again. So some of us are waiting for our pastor to give us an opportunity. But look, let me tell you something. I've given people opportunities and they've fallen flat on their face. Or I've given people opportunities and they succeeded in the moment, but because they didn't have a strategy afterwards, they weren't able to sustain those opportunities. So when I would go back in the day, I was making my own little CDs, printing them out. I would preach and then I'd go to my little desk. I only had, a couple of things to sell, but that gave something for people to carry to home, and then they would be able to remember. So anyway, I love this stuff. I could talk about it forever and ever. I want you guys to really invest in the Wealth Transfer Academy. I actually just read this morning that some of you guys are getting a fourth stimulus check, and that would be a really great investment because it's not just a one-time thing. And this is the thing about business, and people who teach on business really make a lot of money. It's not the only thing I teach on. I only do one business course, but I have friends that's all they teach on. And the reason they make a lot of money is because they're teaching you how to make money. And hopefully what they're charging you, you can make back within 6 weeks or within 3 months if you actually take those resources and use them for your advantage. So I want to encourage you guys to do it. Gloria said, I love it when you talk about it also. I am really passionate about it. I'm passionate about business. I'm passionate about people getting what they have in them out. And I'm passionate about making wealth. And I'm passionate about everybody being able to build something and leave a legacy of God in their family. All right, let me take some questions from you. I'm going to scan through the others here. Some people talked about funding, right? So you only need really funding when you're starting a nonprofit. If you need funding for your business, I'm going to talk to you about how can we start that business on a smaller scale. I am not a big fan of taking major business loans for starting your first business. I don't have an issue with it when your business has built, what do we call it, credit, and now you can take a loan against it because you're going into a bigger investment. But if you've got to take a loan just to start a business, the first thing that I would start with is, one, is the demand there? Because I hate it when people spend all this money to buy t-shirts or machines or whatever, and then when they release their business, nobody buys it. Nobody, and so you've just invested all this money. That's where the frustration and all of that comes from. So when it comes to funding for business, I always want to think about, well, how can we start on a smaller note? But if you do have the demand, like there's a baby girl I know, she sells some of the best cakes, right? Like the demand is there. That's something that you could probably get a loan for because you'll be able to pay it back because people are demanding what you carry. Nonprofits, you're going to get funding through grants. You need to get a grant writer. If you want to have a non-for-profit, meaning which non-for-profits, you can get paid for running a non-for-profit, but it's not to make money, right? You're not going to be rich. It could help you live, but you got to find grants. You got to find grant writers. And you also have to find other things that you can contribute to the nonprofit that, so some nonprofits have t-shirts to sell, but look, t-shirts won't make you that much money, y'all. I mean, $20 t-shirt, in order to make $20,000, you got to sell 10,000 t-shirts, right? So you got to think about what else can the nonprofit do. Now, when that money comes in, it's not going to you. It's going to the nonprofit organization. And then if you get a salary from the nonprofit organization, then obviously you get paid from it. So I don't do a lot of nonprofit coaching. I can help you. I can send you to people. I even talk about it. But our business course, I even tell the people on the first day, like, if you don't want to make money, money, you may feel somehow about me the way I'm going to teach this, because my goal is to help you learn how to create money. All right. Yeah. So if you have a question, just drop hashtag Q. I'll take your questions online as I go through this. Your thoughts on TikTok to launch your products. TikTok is a great product to launch your products. I've seen people build audiences within months that have taken others years. And so if you can be consistent, if you are clear about your avatar, who you're talking to, what you're bringing, do it, do it, do it. Right. Um, Many years ago, I created a portrait of encouragement, desktop portraits that were received well. I also created a book of poetry combined with portraits with words of encouragement. I also have a website. However, my health has become more challenging. I'm currently on a lung transplant. My momentum has been interrupted due to my battle. How would you suggest get back? So, are you the only one who can create the products, right? Is there someone you could advise on how to create it using your patent and your systems that you have in place? If you could get someone to help you create those products, and then you just would need someone to help you get it on the website, and then you'd give them a percentage of the proceeds. So you may need to give that to somebody who can do it while you oversee the development of it, and get a percentage until you're physically healthy to be able to run it. If you are physically healthy again, you already know that it had a good response, and I would encourage you to just go for it. All right, can you give some advice of how to translate your nuggets to service-based businesses? So I would need to know what your nuggets are, right? So if you just want to share one, I can give you an example of how you can translate that to a service-based business. I want to start a men's clothing line, but I don't know where and how to start. Simple. Google, how do you start a men's clothing line, right? Instagram, find men that have a men's clothing line. Look, email them, drop a DM. How did you get started? The world is out there. You can also jump on Wealth Transfer Academy. The first thing that we're going to do is help you define what kind of men. We're going to help you define the price point. We're going to talk about where you're going to source the materials. We're going to talk about, are you going to design the clothes yourself? Are you going to have someone else design it? Now, going deep into your specific business in Wealth Transfer Academies based on the questions that you ask, unless you asked for, like, you signed up for VIP day where I work with you one-on-one, but you can get those questions answered if you're in the course. I'm searching a manufacturer for my clothing line. I don't want to have products in my home. Yeah, those are things that you need to make a decision about if you're going to have a clothing line. You could do drop shipping, which is, it goes straight from the manufacturer straight to your client. So drop shipping is definitely a thing. Everybody wants my husband to start a clothing line. And so eventually at some point we will. And we would probably do drop shipping where, look, someone just asked about it. I think drop shipping is brilliant. When I first went into business, I researched all kinds of online businesses, because what I wanted to do is learn how to create passive income. And so drop shipping, I thought about drop shipping things like guitar. So you could actually look up lists, like what are the most needed items right now. What you do is you connect with the company that sells it. Your website is a front, meaning let's say I sell guitars. I have the pictures of the guitars there. When the order comes in, it goes straight to the manufacturer or whoever ships it, and they ship it to my client, so that I don't have, all I'm doing is I'm serving as a bridge for that product. So that's a great way to do stuff. Is there a problem with starting three businesses together, all with prior experience? There is a problem. To me, there is, because how are you going to succeed at all three at once? I would start one, do well at it, create a measure for success, and then add another one, and then add the other one. Let's see. Let's see what else. What do you think about, okay, how can I implement a lead magnet? Examples of samples I can offer. All right. What do you sell? What do you sell? Right. So like if you sell t-shirts, right, you could do a raffle lead magnet, right? Where you say everyone who signs up to be part of our family in the next 30 days has an opportunity to win one of our designs, right? And one person is going to win it, and you're going to ask that person to take a picture when they've won it, to share it with everybody. So it depends on what you sell. I would need more information to give you more clarity around that. Is it a bad idea to relaunch a business and go in a different direction, or should you just start a new business and get rid of the old name? Relaunching is not a bad idea. Rebranding is not a bad idea. It depends on why you're relaunching, why you're rebranding. If your old business was bankrupt or it sunk or people said it had poor quality, I would just start something fresh with a new spin. But this is what companies do when they're bankrupt. They just come back again with a new name and a new spin. All right. How do you determine an idea you have being a nonprofit versus being a business? You just need to decide, do I want to make money? Or nonprofits generally are, do I want to do this just to help people? Right. And so if you want to make money, it needs to be a for-profit business. One of the things that we go through in Wealth Transfer Academy is we talk about taxes within the US, and we answer questions for. We had someone from Australia last year. We got them the resources, London, so that you know how to incorporate your company. So the goal. So for me, when I first started, everything was ministry, 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 right? But then I was writing books. That would mean that the proceeds and the copyright went to the ministry, and my ministry had a board and oversight. And if one day they thought I wasn't able to run the ministry, they could take all of that away from me. I was doing courses, but it was all under ministry. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I need to make a living. So then what I did is I separated any products that I developed into my business, and I did ministry, which is, praying for people, traveling, whatever. That's just ministry, right? So if you have a lot of products, you have to know, if you have it under your nonprofit, the ownership is not directly you. So those are things that you need to think about. I'm a nurse and have a doctorate in theology. I want to somehow promote healthy and wellness. Yeah, so I'm thinking social media, website. Yeah, that's a great combination, because I actually just taught on this. Our church just did a whole series on soul care. And so in it, we talked about how the body, spirit, soul, and mind work together. And when your body is well, your soul is well, your spirit follows. So there's a whole industry out there. We teach on it in our inner healing and deliverance course, which opens up in July, where we talk about the spirit man and how it's connected to the soul and how it impacts and how you do deliverance and all that. So it's a great industry. Your business and ministry, Devotel, and are on the same social media handle. I've been considering merging my business and ministry social media, but others have said my ministry will put up. So my ministry, when we were to say ministry, that would be Legacy Center Church. That is my ministry. That is our church. You can come to our church for free. You'll get prayer for free. You get loved on. If you're a member, you get to see me for counseling for free. That is our ministry. My business happens to be a Christian business, right? So because it's a Christian business, I can talk about Christian things, but it's not a ministry. It is a for-profit Christian business. Now, the great thing is that I get to help transform people's life as part of my business. And so it gets to merge together. But when I think about ministry or nonprofit, right now, that falls under our church, which is what we do for free. We, just serve people. But my business is just a Christian organization, is a Christian business. And that's why I can talk about the Lord on it. All right. Is this the right track? Yeah, merging those two is a good way to go. I want to start a wellness ministry of healing the mind, body, and spirit that offers courses. How should I start? So you can start by saying, I want to start a wellness business, right? Not a ministry. In the business, you will be doing some ministry, but this is for profit. This is not just you are giving this away. You're saying, I have expertise, I have knowledge, I have studied, I have traveled, or not traveled, I have had the experience. And because of that, I can't just give you my time, because I need to feed my children. I can't just give you my resources, because if I paid to get them. So this would be a business. How should I start? You can start by signing up for Wealth Transfer Academy. And then in it, we're going to teach you things like how to name your business, how to brand your business, how to start a website, how to build an email list, what kind of launch you want to do to introduce the business, and so on and so forth. How do I scale my permanent makeup business? I would need to know where it is right now and where you're trying to scale it, right? The best way to scale a service-based business is by teaching people how to do what you do. That's the best way to do it, because when you are just doing it, they're paying you. But if you can develop an expertise and you can teach 10 people in 1 hour to do what you do versus someone paying you 125 to do their makeup, and you have 10 people in 1 hour that pay 125 for you to teach them, you're going to make more money. That's one of the fastest ways to scale. All right. Looking to have a home-based business but want to preserve my privacy. What are some tips? Maintain privacy. Should I put my home in a trust? So what's the home-based business? Are you doing hair? Are you caring for the sick? What is it? Most people who service people at home have a side entrance. They either do it in the basement. So those are kind of more of the, privacy things. But when you say put it in a trust, I don't know what that means. I would need to know the details of exactly what you're trying to do to better answer that. Should a ministry be set up as a nonprofit or LLC when you have other businesses that may be a leg of the ministry, like coaching? So once again, I would separate those two. I wouldn't do them together. If it's ministry, it's a nonprofit. It has its own arm. It does its thing. If I have a coaching business that is for profit, because you're going to be taxed differently, right? Ministries are and nonprofits are taxed differently from for-profit businesses. So I would separate those two, and I would not have them under the same umbrella. You can go to a lawyer and they will help you structure it so that you have all of that. But for me, I feel like it's just more confusing. And so I would definitely separate them. All right. Is there a problem? Okay, I already answered that question. Let's see. I'm a Christian counselor and an introvert. It has been challenging in a way to do social media videos. Introverts always say this, but it has nothing to do with your ability to do social media. Being an introvert doesn't mean you don't like people. Being an introvert doesn't mean you're not passionate about a certain topic. Being an introvert simply means that you need to get away from people in order to be re-energized. I have several good friends who are huge introverts. If you go to their house, they're going to be reading a book. But if you see them on camera, you would have no clue that they were an introvert because they're in their passion. They're solving a problem. So you need to get that out of your mind, and you need to just make a plan for what you're trying to communicate, right? And if you're like me, I can't stop talking about this stuff. I'm passionate about it. I'm getting excited. When you're in purpose, the energy comes. When you're in purpose, you have the ability to connect with the people that you were made for. So being an introverted doesn't mean anything when it comes to business, because when you're in the moment, you are there and you're present. It's just you will need to get away at some point to refuel. So a nonprofit really wouldn't help me bring in an income for my family. No, they could, right? Let's say you started a girls' boarding school. Your board would have to assign a salary to you based on the income of the school. Charter schools, I don't know if they're, I think that maybe nonprofits, you get a salary. So you could get paid in a nonprofit, but you're not going to necessarily become wealthy, right? So that's it. But you can get paid if there's a grant, there's a board that decide how much you get paid within your nonprofit. All right. I have a learning binder book for kids that I make, but it's so much work. Is there a way to get a manufacturer to make it for me and ship it? Girl, the first thing I would do is put it online. I would go ahead and make that book as an downloadable, get somebody who knows how to oh gosh, what's the word? Illustrate, get it online, sell it as a downloadable product, and let it come straight in their email. And that's free. I'm giving y'all a lot of stuff that I normally would charge. Remember what I told you, $500 an hour for. But that's it. And so that's what I would do with that. You don't need to keep making stuff, especially in a digital world, especially if it's a paper format. All right. I'm a Christian. Okay. I meant to ask, marketing products of encouragement that are not needs or service based. They're more discretionary income based. Would you suggest hiring or bartering with a marketing person so it could be launched properly? Yes, or you can study marketing and learn it yourself. What I always say is don't spend money unless you've made money. So I don't want you guys, and this is what I do with my clients. I don't want you to spend so much money out front, and then when you actually launch, it's not bringing you the income that it needs to bring you. So some things you can learn. If you're absolutely not creative, then you hire out, right? Like find the things that you cannot do, absolutely not do, and then you hire for those. I'm a worship leader and music mentor who travels and sings. I have a hard time setting an honorarium. I teach worship teams how to cultivate their sound practically and prophetically. First of all, you're teaching. You're teaching something that you have studied and you have learned and you have experience in. You need to decide what you're worth, right? Because you're taking treasure and you're just throwing it away when people ask you, what is your honorarium? And so you can ask other people who do similar things what they charge. Usually, when people don't charge what they're worth, is because they don't see their self worth and they don't understand that when we give things away freely, right, it's like throwing away virtue. There's a saying in our world that people who pay actually pay attention. And so you will get a better response when someone has invested something in what you're bringing to the table. Do you think a holistic nurse coaching business would be beneficial? I'd like for my target audience to be churches around the Triangle. I'm new to Cary area and I just found Legacy. Awesome. Look forward to seeing there. I think that would be beneficial. One of the fastest growing areas in coaching is holistic wellness. So there's all kinds of crazy people out there too, like that do that. So if you have a nursing background, I definitely think it would be beneficial. I don't know if I would niche in so far as just only churches to begin with, because churches are just coming on board with that. I may say Christians and then see if you can get into churches that way. All right. I started an online preschool course, but couldn't scale the business. I'm back in school now, finishing my education. I was thinking about still creating free content. You probably couldn't scale it because people didn't know you had the business, right? And so the one way you scale a business is you get more clientele, you build a bigger audience. So that's one way. Another way is to increase the price of your products. Another way is to add a service or a product. Another way is to pivot. So you need to figure out why you couldn't scale it, right? And then go from there. But the final question is this a good idea to keep sharing content to keep the audience until I'm ready to launch again? Yeah. You don't want to lose people along the way. All right. Awesome, guys. How do faith-based businesses work? They work the same way as any other business. They work the same way. You're providing a content and a service as a business owner. So there's no difference, except you just got to make sure that it's clearly communicated that this is not a ministry. You got to make sure that on the back end that you are classified as a business. If you want a loan for your business, do you need an LLC, C Corp, or DBA? So DBA is just doing business as. And so that's not really, it's a classification, but not really. It depends on what kind of loan you want. C Corp, I don't even advise, or S Corp. I don't advise people to go that route until they're bringing in at least $60,000 to $100,000. So it just depends. But you'd ask your bank. I'm in the business of permanent makeup, but people often seek me out for advice, and I'm very passionate when counseling someone. Is this a sign that I should shift my focus? You may want to. If you go the area where people actually need your service even more, or you could do both. Try social media and health fairs. I have a couple friends now who are looking for more holistic options. Yes, yeah, that's a great way. All right, bless you guys. I hope this strategy session was helpful. And if it was, obviously registration is open for Wealth Transfer Academy in December. We're going to close out first week of January. The payment plan option is going to be gone. So if you want to sign up for the course, but you need the payment plan to pay it over the next several months, please make sure that you sign up for that. And lastly, if you're married, we'd love to see you at our marriage retreat. All right. Bless you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.